Welcome to Innergetics with Kim and Veronica, where we invite you to nourish the energy of your inner why, your inner healing, magic, prosperity, your curiosity, clarity, playfulness. Welcome home. Hello. Welcome everyone to our next episode of the Innergetics podcast. I am Veronica and I'm here with my gorgeous partner, Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hello, Miss Veronica. Hello, everyone, and welcome back if you're returning.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for even participating for a little glimpse of it. We are really acknowledging each and every one of you as contributing to the energy, the information, the wisdom, the consciousness that comes through in these conversations. So thank you. And Kim, where can folks find you?
You can find me at growingbeyond.com. I'm also on Facebook as Kim Coleman, and I'm also on Instagram, kimcoleman.growingbeyond. What about you, Miss Veronica?
Amazing. You can find me on Instagram at the Veronica Rose, Roze. And we have been having a conversation lately about feeling lonely. And that, is so relevant for so many people, us included. Even sometimes when I feel very surrounded with a lot of people, I sometimes feel alone. And so it's an interesting thing to explore and unravel. And one of our prior episodes, we were really talking a lot about navigating a funk and navigating a funk of loneliness. And today we thought we'd talk a little bit more about navigating scenarios where people leave us, right? So ghosting, as an example, when folks just decide that they no longer are going to continue to interact or to participate in our lives. And sometimes they choose to do that without announcing or sharing any reasons for removing themselves or for disappearing. And when it happens more than once, sometimes when it happens once, it can be extremely painful and confusing. And sometimes it happens more than once. And we start to want to dig into why that might be happening to us. It's a very easy trap to start to tell ourselves stories about the wrongness of us when that happens. So we thought we'd just kind of dive into a conversation around it.
Uh-huh. And just so that everybody knows, so Veronica and I do have about a 5-minute, hey, what are we talking about today? But everything that we share is an experience as we're sharing it here live. And so there's no script, right? There's a, hey, what do you think about talking about this? And it's like, sure, let's see where it goes. And so often we'll have our own ahas in the experience of having a conversation and sharing. Cool. And so yeah, the ghosting thing. Oh my God. I do tend to get ghosted often, right? It's a thing where people will like, oh my God, I can't get enough of you. I love you. I just want to be around you. And the next day they're ghosting me. And I'm like, what is that? What did I? And I'll reach out to these people. It's happened more than once. Let me say that. It's happened more than once. And it tends to be often people who do that thing of, oh my God, how much they love me, how happy they are that we're friends and all the things. And I return that with them. I feel the same way because I actually love people. I love humans and all the experiences that humans have. It's almost like watching a friggin' movie for me, right? And being around humans, myself included. And so then when I get ghosted, all of a sudden, it can be like 2 days after us telling each other how much we love each other, right? And it often leaves me hanging. It leaves me hanging, right? And my normal, if there is such a thing, is I'll reach out to the person. I'll say, hey, did I say something that upset you? Did I do something? So I'm willing to take full responsibility and say, hey, what's going on here? If you're ghosted, they're not going to respond. It's been my experience. And so that can often leave me feeling like I did something wrong, as you were saying earlier, can leave me feeling like I've done something wrong, what's going on, but it leaves me hanging. Now listen, I don't know about you, but when it comes to endings, it to me it's respectful to have it so that everybody's got completion. Now is that always possible? Of course not. Right? And so for me, it might be completion for them, but it's not a kindness to me if they don't give me completion. It's like breaking up with somebody over text, right? We were going to get married tomorrow. Now I'm breaking up with you. Why? Ghost, crickets, right? And so I don't know. It's just not a kindness. It's not, it leaves this unfinished business, right? It leaves this unfinished business hanging in the air. And I like to be squeaky clean, right? I like to tie up my loose ends. But hey, that's me. But here's my share. I don't know. What is my share out of that? I guess it's yeah, respect. It's uh um what's that word? Courtesy. It's grace, right? It's can we break up in oneness, right? Instead of it being a one-sided thing, can we do it with emotional intelligence and maturity? So, what are your thoughts about all that, Veronica?
Yeah.
Like, if you,
Yeah, and at the same time, I always think, people are doing the best they can, right? So it's not so much something that's happened a lot to me, but it has happened in, big relationships where, well, a big relationship, a big friendship for me where it felt really, it did feel hurtful. And so I, go on my own journey of healing that hurt and really recognizing that the individual is doing the best they can in that moment. If they knew how to do better, they would, right? And so it's hard because we always want people to operate the way we would. We always want people to interact and to treat us the way we would treat others, or the way we would want to be
right,
treated. And at the same time, it's like they're doing the best they can. And so then it's a matter of looking at myself. It's like, okay, now, well, what am I going to do with this, right? So I have the hurt that I get to care for myself with, right? I get to take some time to just be tender with myself and to allow that hurt to heal. And then for me, I move into often to the question of, okay, well, what is here for me, right? What is beautiful out of this? What is the medicine out of this? What is the magic that can come out of this? Because I do believe that within every challenge, within every heartbreak, within every hurt, there is something beautiful that can come out of it. So I like to shift to, what moving into that question, I don't necessarily get the answer, but at least shifting to the question of, okay, well, what is here for me? What's beautiful that is here for me out of this, while I heal that hurt, heal that heart, and and allow for the other person to just have their own experience and journey and make their own choices.
right. And you know what? If it didn't happen to me so often, if it wasn't an experience that I had so often, I think like after three times, four times, five times, yeah, I'm that 100%. And then when it's like again and again and again, are you kidding me right now? And now it's happening again. And now it's happening again. So when a relationship is coming to a so-called completion or whatever it is, that thing of people are in our lifetime for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I think that like often you can tell a relationship is kind of doing its thing. To me, that's different. If a relationship is doing its thing and you kind of get ghosted that way, that's just, it was going to happen. But I'm talking about like one day people are absolutely, in love with you. Uh, and then like 2 days later, they're ghosting you. Right. I think it's different. So was your experience that you're speaking about, was your experience more like a relationship that was ending kind of deal? Or was it everybody loves each other and now you're ghosted?
Yeah, it was the latter. Everyone loves each other,
Wow.
and then extraction, which is hurtful. But and it's been, you know, for this particular scenario, it's been a couple of years, and I'm completely at peace with it. And
And
but
that
it's
was
hard.
the
It's hard,
last
really.
time. It was that the
It's hard in
last
the
time it
moment.
happened to you that you experienced, not
At,
happened to
it,
you, but
at that depth, yeah, at that
oh,
depth, like
okay.
that close of a relationship, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And it is hurtful at the time. And
yeah.
yeah, ones that happened 10 years ago, am I over those now? Yeah. Right. And do I leave my door open for that to come back? Like, I don't respond by going, oh, you ooh la la, exclamation mark. I don't do that. I reach out and I'm like, oh my God, like, did I say something? Did I do something? So I always leave the door open for them to come back should they choose. Right. But yeah, I just find it kind of bizarre. Like it doesn't happen very often with you. With me, I don't want to say it's a regular thing, like a pattern. However, it happens with me, like with people who I'm thinking I'm really close with, right? We have these deep kind of conversations, all the things, right? They're also into the same kind of stuff I'm into. It's always usually, no, I would say it's always those people, those kind of relationships, that the ghosting ends up happening. So yeah, and like I said, if it was just one or two here and there, three or four here and there, oh, it happened a few years ago. Yeah, with me, it's very. I don't want to say it's regular or it's ongoing. I could probably sit here and count a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch, let me say, let's get rid of the word people in this instance, a whole bunch of experiences I've had in relationships of this ghosting thing. And it's interesting because I've spoken to a few people about it and they're like, yeah, they're experiencing it as well. And it's kind of like, yeah, we're together and then it's like everybody moves on. I just think it's a respectful thing. Yes, everybody's doing their best they can, 100%, 100%. I'm talking about people who are also into this kind of work, who are also, in that kind of relationship with me, who tend to do the ghosting. And without any, and so of course, I want the why. I'm looking for the why. And often there is no why. And that's why, and so I don't end up with the completion. I end up with that cord hanging. Do you know what I mean? That cord dangling. People talk about cutting cords. I end up with, well, they obviously cut theirs. That's cool. However, mine's still reaching, going, what happened? What's going on? So I have the contemplative mind, right? I have the contemplative mind in Gene Keys. And so for me, I'm going to sit with it and look at what have I done? But notice how I tend to take responsibility for it as if I've done something wrong. And what if I haven't done anything wrong? Right? What if I haven't done anything wrong? But it's interesting because it's like I would still like to have that conversation with somebody when they do that or when I experience that because they've got completion. Are you willing to give me completion? And like you said, some people can't go there, and that's cool, right? But yeah, so I did have that experience, and one lady recently, because I was so in oneness with the breakup, she's come back. So I always leave that door open. But it's really easy to get into what's the pattern here? What am I doing wrong? Right? And there isn't, and what was it we were just listening to with Jason Estes? What was it he was saying?
He was talking about how he never recommends for people to dig.
Right.
So to
I
go
love that.
digging, because if you're meant to know it, life will present it to you right in your face. And so digging for the patterns, digging for the why, digging for the reason, which I think is really, really beautiful because, again, we talk a lot about the narrative. It just kicks up narratives and it just takes us down further and further unnecessarily.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I tend to end up doing. What's really fascinating about that is, like you said, it's about, yeah, I start to be with the loneliness of it. And so I work with my loneliness around it, which is, we were talking about loneliness and being alone in the last call, even though I'm not alone. I live with somebody, right? I have a partner. And yeah, but yeah, it's just interesting. It's a trigger for me, for sure. Somebody that I thought I was having a really close relationship, and then 2 days later, and I'm not exaggerating on the 2 days later, and it hasn't happened once. Like I said, it's happened so many times that, yeah, that it's like, okay, there it is again. And what's fascinating to me is when I read my Gene Keys hologenetic profile, it's in there. It's in there, right? That, yeah, which I won't go into what it says, but yeah. So as you were just saying that Jason says, yeah, what you need to know about that will be right in front of you. When I started looking and looking at my gene keys, it was like, okay, it's in that gene key. It's in that gene key. Are you kidding me? It's in that gene key too. And yeah, it seems to be whatever that is. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right? Doesn't mean that I don't have my feels about it. But yeah.
So do you have any wisdom on how to navigate it, or how you, what, like if you've been through it a lot of times, like, what is the wisdom that we could share with folks about a way to explore it, to navigate it?
Good question, because it's always so individual for me. So for me, I will tend to do the reach out. Hey, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? So I tend to do the self responsibility, wanting to clean up, my end. Hey, if I said something or did something, let me know. Right. And I'll apologize. Hey, if I did, I'm so sorry. So whether they respond to me or not, I apologize regardless. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I said something, or if I did something, I apologize. And I let them know I love you anyway. I love you regardless, whatever. And so that's how I'll leave it. And maybe that's how I leave the door open, if you will. Because to me, we can do breakup in oneness, right? It doesn't have to be in separation. I've done that with my exes too, right? When I break up with them, I'm like, hey, why don't me and you and your new girlfriend and my new boyfriend all go? And people are like, what? What are you doing? And I'm like, why not? Right? I don't hate the person. We broke up and, blah, blah. And yeah, no, people don't do that. And so, yeah, so I guess I look and I go, yeah, I am really wired differently in that way, that literally I've been like, hey, why don't we all go out together, all four of us? Right? I remember when Ken and I first got together, he would come for our Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving and family events. So did my old boyfriend. And my sons would be like, this is just really awkward. I'm like, okay. And yeah, but my old boyfriend, we became his family, and he didn't have any family in our area. And I asked Ken, are you okay with blah, blah, blah? And he'd be like, yeah, he probably thought it was weird too. I don't know. But anyway, so anyway, I tend to break up in this oneness thing. And so yeah, and I'm just kind of recognizing, I even do that with the ghosting. I'm recognizing that as we're sitting here chatting. I don't tend to see that it has to be a separation, right? If you want to go on your own way, that's cool. But can we have a conversation around it? If I, right? And no, a lot of people, no. If they're ghosting you, they're ghosting you. That's where the word ghosting comes from. And so I don't know what a takeaway. I really don't know. for me, it's so different every time. It almost, I don't want to say it's become so, like, how would you even say normal? It's, um, yeah, it is a little, it's something like what you said and different around, yeah, just recognizing that some people, they don't even know why it is, perhaps. Who knows? Who knows? I'm somebody who I am deep. And so that's, I want the conversation. Not everyone's willing to give you the conversation, and that's okay. So I've had to find a way to be okay with that. Because if they've cut a cord and my energetic cord is still searching for that person, that's an energetic cord, right? That's still kind of searching for, hey, where'd that go? Where'd you go? Right? And so I do have a little process that I do where I offer them to the light of God, if you will, to the light of the universe, to the light of. So I do this little process of offering the whole relationship and the whole thing to the light of God, because I can't figure it out, right? I can just drive myself nuts trying to figure it out. Go ahead. What were you going to
No,
say?
I was just going to say, yeah, our mind is looking for the answer, and there's often not an answer, right? And so,
Yeah.
similar to you, energetically, do relationships ever really end? Even though physically, there's no longer the interaction or the engagement or the contact. There's a concept that relationships energetically and at a soul level never actually end, and so, sending blessing to the other individual's soul, sending blessing to the exchange that was there, that continues to be there, even without the physical interaction, can be very healing as well.
Exactly. And so if like I said, so that's what I do is I work with the energy of it. So I'll offer the energy of it to, like I said, to hand it over to Jesus, hand it over to God, hand it over to the universe, right? And I also will do this thing where I do this thing where it's kind of like um, any bits and pieces and parts of me that they're holding on to, knowing or unknowing, I welcome those parts of me home. And any bits and pieces and parts of them that I'm holding on to, known or unknown, I return to them. And pretty much by saying those words, right? Anything that they're holding on to of me, welcome home. Anything that I'm holding on of them, return. I return with love. So that's kind of how I guess you would say that I work with it. Because for me, I'm aware of that chord, and so now it's about, okay, we're letting it do something, or not do something, but yeah, I work with it energetic that way, and it's really easy. It's amazing how fast it works, right?
It is. Yeah, and one of the things I think too is like we're really in a time where we're encouraging individuality, we're encouraging people to be true to themselves, and that creates difference, and that is hard for people, right? Even though conceptually we want everyone to be themselves, when it comes down to it, it's hard for people to accept the differences. Oh, people say things or do things now that I don't like, and now I don't want to be around it, that kind of idea. And so I really notice it with my daughter, because she's special needs, she's high needs, and so she's very different, and it's hard for kids to be with that difference, right? And so the more that we're encouraging people to really be unique, to be themselves, to own themselves, to embody themselves, it's not easy for the masses, if you will. And so it creates friction, and friction is great for creation, and it's also uncomfortable, and people don't like to be uncomfortable, and so then they back away,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even always know why they feel uncomfortable. So they just, instead of even having to have a conversation where they can't explain it themselves, they maybe choose the option of ghosting, and that's just the easiest path for them.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, what you just shared there is, I wasn't sure if it was too much for this audience, but that's a lot of it right there. You just said it. Uh, and so that's also an awareness for our audience is, in my gene keys, and way before I ever studied gene keys, it just kind of is in there. And so, for example, as you become more and more embodied, and as you become more and more the diamond of your own self, whatever that is, it can kind of, other people's shadows. We all have shadow. All of us have shadow, or whatever you want to call that. It can actually, it could be their shadows that are like, okay, danger. That woman's got too much brightness and lightness going on there, and it kind of becomes a little bit abrasive to those parts that are wanting to continue to hide. And that is in about, I don't know if I'd be exaggerating to say 6 of my gene keys. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that's always been a thing that I've always been aware of, and that's not new information. We all know that, right? We all know that. So instead of looking of the wrongness of me, when I started to looking at the gene keys, and I knew this, but again, there it was. It felt like a confirmation for me. So instead of it being a wrongness, I got to see it as a strongness, right? Am I going to turn myself down because it makes some other people uncomfortable? No, right? No, I'm not, right? And yeah, it can be somebody's shadow that's saying, "Oh, if I'm around her too much, I'm going to be seen." Right? And yeah, so I guess that's enough of that.
That's enough of that.
That's enough of that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just reassuring for folks to know that, you feel alone, but you're not alone. Like there's so many people that are going through all of the things, right? So the feelings of loneliness, the experience of being ghosted, like all of that is not uncommon. And so it's just really careful about, being very mindful of the narratives, the stories that we're telling ourselves, being very mindful of not trying to dig too deep because it'll just take you deeper. And,
Yep.
looking for the ways that we can heal, the ways that we can heal energetically, both the relationship and the other and ourselves, and also to really turn and look at, well, what could be beautiful or magical that's coming out of this.
Yeah. And you know what? It always makes space for something else to show up. It is kind of like breaking up over the internet, though. I find when people do it that way. Uh, and, like I said, it's like breaking up over the internet, which is, that's the world we live in. That
Mhm.
is just the world we live in. It's made it really easy for people to connect, but it's also really easy for people to create endings without having to take responsibility or have a conversation or own their part, I guess. Yeah, not own their part. That's not really the right wording, but yeah, it's just become really easy to dismiss, right? Yeah, and especially if you've got one person saying, "Hey, what happened? We were loving each other yesterday and planning a trip." Right?
Not easy.
No.
Well, thanks,
But
Kim, for being willing to share vulnerably what you've been navigating. And I have no doubt that it resonates for a lot of folks. So it's really important to talk about. Any final
yeah.
words?
I don't think so. Well, maybe, just to reiterate, if this is happening with you, just recognize that it may not be a wrongness of you. It may be a strongness of you. We came here to create change, right? And so if you being you and your bright and shiny self is stirring up the shadow in other people, and instead of working on that, they want to run from it, that's your strongness. That's not a wrongness. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It's okay, right? And it doesn't mean it's never going to happen again, but it might not, right? And yeah, that's what I would kind of wrap it up with.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And of course, we always invite you to like, to subscribe, to share your comments and reviews. And if you think that anyone can benefit from listening to this conversation, please share. That would mean the world to us. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Wait. Let me see your fingernails.
Oh.
Do you have your fingernails done? Oh, I love it. For those who are only listening on a podcast, we're also on YouTube.
Showing my nails. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.